Good afternoon, everybody. This is Team 4, Team RPN. We are here to present the paper titled Modeling the Interplay of Metaphor and Emotion Through Multitask Learning, authored by Werner Dankers, Marek Red, Martha Lewis, Ekaterina Shatova. The paper is going to be presented by me, Poonam, followed by Madhuri and Rohit. To just give you an abstract idea of what the paper is about, it is basically about metaphor identification and understanding the emotional implication or the hidden meaning behind the phrases available. So this paper talks about metaphors, their literal meaning versus the emotional impact or understanding. What are the different experiments that it used that includes multitask learning architecture, and also identifying the relationship between metaphors and the emotional predictions associated with it. So, metaphors, what are they used for? They help us to understand the abstract concepts through physical experiences. So, basically, if there is a situation, like there are times where you could fit in the phrase, oh, this relates to this phrase or Y phrase. So, that is what metaphors are really about. They are trying to condense and shorten and describe the experiences that we face on a day-to-day basis. The metaphorical language is a systematic association between two distinct semantic domains of source and target. So source could be the experience that we gain, and target could be the metaphor that derives from the experience, which could not be the literal term, but something that helps us understand what the person is feeling or understanding. Metaphorical associations project the knowledge from source to target, inviting new reasoning frameworks. As I mentioned earlier, it helps us understand what experience or emotion the user has experienced. So, no two users may have the same experience. So, metaphors, how each individual presents or what each individual uses, will help us understand what kind of an experience they've had, be it positive, negative, or otherwise. So, this paper also would involve the description of the first joint model or metaphor and emotional learning patterns of interaction via flexible parameter sharing techniques. So this gives you an overview of what kind of experiment or technicality this paper consists of. So they have tried to build a model that involves both metaphors and emotional learning in the same parameters. There are several different works that have been done in the past that identifies or builds models associated with metaphor identification. There have been models that have been able to analyze emotions, and there have been some which also incorporates both metaphor and emotion. And in this paper, they have tried to build a model which combines both metaphor and emotion in the same model. What are the different tasks and data sets? So the data sets that they've used in this paper are the VUA metaphor corpus, the LCC metaphor corpus, and the EmoBank corpus, which we will be talking about later in this paper. And what are different tasks performed? There are two components. One is the metaphor identification, and the second is emotion detection. So basically, we are identifying what are the different metaphors used and what do they imply in terms of emotional understanding. The first dataset is the BUA metaphor corpus. It is a subset of the British National Corpus dataset, and it has the words annotated both in terms of the literal usage as well as the metaphorical usage. This dataset contains over 10,000 sentences across four different genres, which comprise of academic writing, news, conversation, and fiction. They've used an inter-annotated agreement value of 0.84 using the Flessy's K terminology. The metaphor identification at word level using sequence labeling paradigm has been achieved using this particular dataset. The second dataset that we have taken into account is the LCC metaphor corpus. It is the Language Computer Corporation dataset of metaphors available in different languages such as English, Farsi, Spanish, and Russian. We have used the English portion of the dataset, which comprises of the Clue Web corpus and the Debate Politics online forum news. Again, the inter-annotated agreement parameter is taken at 92.8%. The dataset comprises of almost 9,000 samples that have been extracted. They've also normalized the average scores assigned to each of the individual annotator. And sentence level regression via tenfold cross validation has been performed formed, where 70% of your data set is used for training, 10% for validation, and 20% of the data set is used for testing to identify the accuracy of the model built. The third data set that we have incorporated is the emo bank corpus. Like based on the VAT model that contains around 10,000 sentences from the manually annotated subcorpus of American English and affected text corpus. The different genres that they balance out within the dataset incorporate news headlines, blogs, essays, fictions, letters, newspapers, and travel guides. So you can say it's a lot of information based data. Now, the different sentence rating dimensions have been identified from a perspective of the reader versus the perspective of the writer, because interpretation may be totally different based on the user set. The inner annotated agreement value taken here for a reader perspective is 0.61, whereas from the writer's perspective it is 0.63, and again they've used the Pearson's R value. They perform the sentence level regression, again using the same tenfold cross-validation approach in the same ratio of 10%, 70% of your data set being your training, 10% of the data set is used to validate the training, and 20% of your data set is used to test the model to identify the accuracy of the model. Now, moving forward, Madhuri will be presenting. Thank you.